Today, Arizona executed its first death row inmate since 2022. Aaron Gunches died by lethal injection just after 10:30 this morning. Gunches didn't share any last words, and despite issues with lethal injections in the past, today's execution went as planned. Troy Hayden was there as a media witness and joins us now in studio. What has, because this was is it the fifth time?
Fifth time, yeah, going back 20 to 25 years, I believe, yeah.
What has changed since the last execution you witnessed?
The very last one, what has changed is they used to do two IVs, one in like the inner thigh and one in the arm. And now, today's, they had the two IVs each in an arm. That was number one. Number two, the overhead view was different. When you first walk in, these rooms are very small. You've been there. You walk into the room, you have the three monitors up top.
Right.
So one of the monitors, or two of the monitors on the side, showed the actual bench that he was going to be laying on, and then there was a black area around, almost redacted, you know, like redacted?
Yeah.
So they didn't show the DOC people who were in there getting him in. So those are the two biggest changes. And the overall biggest change was, this was the smoothest execution I think I've ever been a part of.
So from the time they started pushing the drugs, which I was watching your coverage this morning, you saw them, the plunger going in on the different medications, this lethal cocktail that he had. How long was it from the time they first introduced the drugs until the time, in your estimation, that he died?
Well, it's interesting because there were 8 syringes there. There were green syringes and black syringes. And what we later figured out was that the black syringes was a saline solution, just kind of get everything going. And then the green solution was the pentobarbital, the lethal drug. So when they first pushed in the black tubing, nothing happened. And I'd say about maybe 2 minutes later is when they pushed in the green one. And within probably 30 to 40 seconds of pushing in the green one, I saw Gunches wince a little bit. I don't know if you've ever gotten an injection that stings a little bit, pain. That's the kind of look he had on his face. And then closed his eyes and started breathing heavily. There were a couple of quick twitches, and I'd say within 2 minutes, I thought he was gone. The color had drained from his face, and he was no longer breathing.
Let's talk about redemption. Maybe redemption isn't the word, but the feeling that you're sorry for what you did. Remorse. Did he have any words of remorse? Did he apologize? Did he seem regretful for what he had done?
In 5 executions, they've all been given the opportunity for final words. Not one of them apologized.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact,
nor in mine with Murray.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then in the one before this with Dixon, he was actually taunting the family members in the front row because you have a microphone, you can hear, as you know. But Gunches didn't say anything today and looked just directly above. So I will say, once he got both IVs in and before the drugs were pushed, there was about a minute and a half of him laying on the table, and it was dead silent. And I remember I had a weird feeling inside, and I was looking at him thinking, what's going through his mind right now? Is he sorry for what he did? Is he thinking about what's going to happen coming up next? But then I also looked at Karen Price, the sister of the man who was murdered, and I looked at her and wondered what was going through her mind as well, you know, because the story really should be about Ted Price, the victim.
Of course.
And Karen, his sister.
Now, you talked to Karen before the execution. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to her today afterwards, but I'm wondering, based on your conversations with her, if she got that feeling of justice or vengeance or vindication that the victims or the victims' families search for when someone is executed.
She made a great point in the interview you talked about, where she said, when your family member is murdered, that's just the beginning, right? So for the last almost 23 years, she's been going through the legal process. So while I wasn't able to talk to her afterwards, they kind of separated everybody at the end. So while she didn't say anything about vengeance, she made a point to say, this legal process is now over. It's nothing she'll have to do.
So it's more relief than this feeling of justice served, do you think?
I don't know. I couldn't get into her head. But
yeah.
You know, she was really put together, I will say that. An intelligent woman, and I think she had some really interesting comments. I believe it's on 12 Plus right now if you want to watch it.
All right.
So I think it's worth going back. How about you? What are your thoughts after yours?
Well, you know, I guess my thought is I don't know that the victims in the Murray Hooper murder, that they felt that they got this feeling, and that's why I asked you, this feeling of justice or vindication that they were looking for. It was just, our journey is finally over.
And their loved one's still gone.
And their loved one is still gone.
They're never coming back.
It's that ultimate question, does capital punishment really work in terms of giving justice to the families of the victim?
Yeah, I don't think there's a true answer. There's
Probably
different
never-
answers, right?
Probably never
for different
have an answer.
people.
Yeah. Troy, thanks.